Hey, beloved family, how are y'all on this wonderful Wednesday? We've been having so much rain in the GA, and today is like, let me just show you. Oh, see the blueness? The blueness? Do you see it? Okay. Happy about the blueness. Sun is shining brightly. It is a gorgeous day. Me and my baby out here dashing today, dashing for some cash. But in any event, I was just reminiscing. As you get older, you start thinking about a lot of stuff in your past. And it's so funny. You think about all these moments, especially as somebody that is well aware that the Most High God is covering you and protecting you. And you start thinking in your past about all the crazy stuff that you have gone through or put your situations that you put yourself in when you were younger. And you're like, wow, the Lord covered and protected me, boy, so many times. So many times. Times that I don't even know about, I'm sure. But I was thinking about this particular event that took place. My dad, now I'm going to be respectful because what I've learned, that it is serious. That thing is serious about honoring our parents that the Bible speaks of. And that means in every way. Even if your parents are not the best parents, they could be the worst parents. You ought to honor them. So I don't want to trash my dad. I love my dad and I have forgiven my dad. And when I was younger, I was very angry with my dad. So the way I feel about him now is much different than I did when I was younger. I was, you go through your little attitude and puberty and stuff like that. And you just enraged, whatever. I'm past that. So I'm going to say that my dad was a street guy. Those are the words I'm going to choose today, right? And so he knew everybody. We couldn't walk anywhere with my dad without somebody saying, hey, CJ, hey, Carl, what's up? He knew everybody, literally, right? So he came to my neighborhood. This is once I became an adult and I had my own place and I had my two daughters. And he came to visit us and in my neighborhood, which is where he grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Brownsville, Brooklyn, just in case you don't know, is very, could be very dangerous, right? It's considered the hood. But by God's grace, I was able to raise my daughters, and I was raised there myself, and we survived to tell the story, right? But anyway, my dad came to visit. And there was a gentleman that lived in my building. I used to see the guy all the time. He was addicted to crack because crack was serious at this time. And it was very prevalent. So he would be walking to and fro all the time. I always saw him and he just looked, out of it. You know how crackheads look. A lot of them was spooky looking, really spooky looking. But he used to always go to and fro, always busy, in and out the building all the time, selling stuff, boosting stuff, doing whatever. This is the guy my dad decided to introduce me to. He said, oh, this is good people. I know him. I said, Dad, he's not good people. He's an addict. He's like, no, girl, don't act like that. And I'm young, so I'm like, what? Good people use drugs? I'm confused. Because I'm young. And there's a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. And so he introduces me to this gentleman. And I'm calling him gentleman. And he said, oh, yeah, I see her. She live in my building. So he recognized me. I recognized him. I didn't want to know him because, in all fairness, you got to be cautious. I'm a young lady, single mom, living in this area that's not so great. I didn't really want to have any dealings with anybody like that. Nonetheless, my dad introduced us, right? Against my will. But anyway, he said, don't act like that, girl. I know his family. He come from good people. And people like that, they'll look out for you. And I'm like, how could he look out for me when he's not even looking out for himself? But in any event, right? This is the thing that blew my mind. And I'm like, wow. My dad introduced me to this gentleman. 2 or 3 days later, I had gone shopping with my daughters, right? Me and my daughters had went grocery shopping. And the streets were always nasty with dog poop and spit. Ugh, I don't miss those days at all. Thank you, Daddy, for delivering me from that place. So the street was so nasty, and I didn't like tracking all that nastiness in my house under my, from the wheels on my shopping cart. So when I would come in, I would park my shopping cart at the door and take my groceries out. So we're in the midst of doing that. So knock, knock, knock. Somebody's knocking on my door, and I'm like, I wasn't expecting anybody. So I go to the door, and lo and behold, guess who it was? The gentleman my dad just introduced me to, who's a crackhead, well-known crackhead in my building, who lives in my building. Now, I'm upset because I'm like, is he serious? Is he going to start knocking on my door? Because I'm not for that. So I look through the peek hole, and I'm answering him gruffly. I'm like, yes. So, because I'm about that life too, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a punk. I grew up in the projects. I always stayed away from drug abuse and drinking and promiscuity, because I had 2 praying grandmothers who taught me well, and I was always near them and with them, and they were on it as far as teaching me right from wrong. So I was fairly decent, I must say, and I didn't get caught up like I could have been, and I thank God for that. But you know, you have to get a tough skin living in that kind of community and having daughters. You have to have a tough skin. So I used to walk around all frowned up all the time, like I was ready for it, you know. But I was like, yes. And so he's like, sweetheart, you left your key in the door. Y'all, when I tell you that my heart dropped down to my feet, and my stomach felt like somebody just punched me in it. I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. And I kid you not, the first thing that came to my head was when my dad said, these good people, they'll look out for you. Now, 2 things that is very important about this story, this incident, because it's a true story. 1, you cannot judge a person based on their financial status or the way they look or their situation, because we have a bunch of crooks and mean people, perverts and sickos dressed in suits that go to work every day and make plenty of money, right? And then we have people like this particular gentleman who lives in the neighborhood, who was maybe raised by good parents but got caught up in what's going on in the neighborhood, and he's doing things like that. But I look at that there is goodness in everyone, because the Lord said he created us in his image, right? And number 2, if my daddy did not introduce me to this gentleman, what could have happened? You know, see if it's good. Oh, it's not, baby. It's kind of dripping. All right. Ooh, excuse me, y'all. They doing this dash, and they didn't put the people's top on here good. I don't know. They should have taped this down.
No, I had to put that there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, and so number 2, which is major. If this man didn't know my dad, right? What could have happened to us? I don't know why I was so careless. I don't know if this situation occurred to teach me a valuable lesson. I don't know what it was. But I'm telling you, the grace of God is sufficient. That's all I got to say. Because he could have kept those keys and come and revisit my apartment later on that night while my daughters and I were asleep, or when I left. And only God knows what could have happened. But I'm like, man, my dad knowing him and introducing him to me in a nick of time, like that's only God. So as I look back, I look at God's grace, I look at God's grace, and I'm like, so many times he's covered me. And I have plenty of stories, things that I've done foolishly being young that could have turned out for the worse, you know, and how he covered, had his hand on me and protected me. Them prayers of the grandmas, honey, they work. That scripture comes to mind. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. And my grandmothers were some praying mamas. You hear me? So I was covered. And that man knowing my dad made a difference. And my dad introducing me to him right before I decided to forget my keys in the door in the worst part of Brooklyn. It's just amazing. You know? And how we really can't judge people. It makes perfect sense to be afraid of somebody who's using, because some of them will knock their own mama over the head and kill their own family to get money when they're fiending, you know. So it's pretty scary, and it's not a particular person that you would want to be friends with or associate with. I used to see this guy in and out of the building all the time. He was selling stuff, always boosting, and he was always moving, because crackheads, remember, they were so busy. They was always in and out, doing this, doing that, always going. Their eyes looked glazed over. Some of them looked really spooky, like zombies. I mean, He didn't particularly look that bad, but he ended up dying shortly after.
Take the next right onto Georgia 314, West Fayetteville Road.
So however God saw fit, he used this gentleman to protect me. I'm telling you. So don't judge people, you know. We got to be careful. We got to be mindful with everybody. We meet people who look like they're doing well in life and doing good, and those are the people that end up raping you or harming you. So I believe in prayer, the power of prayer, and I believe in obedience, because then you get divine covering. Father is awesome in all his ways, and we must do his will to be protected. And honey, I can't tell you how many times he has covered me. The times that I know of and the times that I don't know of, you know. So I'm just thinking back and reminiscing a little bit and thinking about my papa, you know. I still honor him, even though he was not the best dad. He's not the best dad in the world, but he's mine. It's all I got, you know. And I thank God for all the wisdom that he did impart upon me, because he's not a dumb man at it, not by any stretch of the word. He's not a dumb man at all. Made poor choices, but he's not a dumb man. So he's imparted some wisdom upon me in my life. So I just want to say, even if your parents are not the best, take notice of the knowledge that they share with you and be obedient, because it counts and it matters. Family, peace, love, and blessings. Have a fabulous day. Do not forget to subscribe, like, dislike, hit the notification bell, and share if you like. And you will see me soon. Have a beautiful day.